Hi, and welcome to the Route to CISO Byte Size podcast. I'm your host, Kris, and in these bite-sized episodes, we'll be speaking to experienced cybersecurity hiring managers. We'll be asking their advice on how you can stand out from the crowd to make the career moves you desire. Hi, everybody. Welcome to an episode of Route to CISO Byte Size. Really excited to have a good friend of mine on here. We've just been on the keynote panel this morning at North Central Washington Cybersecurity Summit here at the beautiful Big Bend Community College. Anil, please tell everybody who you are. I know you can't really say what you're up to at the moment. It's all very stealthy.
Yes, it is. Hey, everyone. Anil Karmel, a serial cybersecurity entrepreneur. Spent 10 years in government at Los Alamos National Laboratory and NSA headquarters. Met the co-founder of two of my companies on that journey. Built two companies in the cybersecurity GRC space and moved to the Washington area a couple months ago, and excited to be here having this conversation.
Yeah, from one Washington to the next Washington, right?
Exactly right.
Is that the rules? You only live in places called Washington now?
Clearly. Clearly.
Moving around the world with a map that says Washington.
Exactly right.
I thought we should chat about something that it came up as one of the questions, and I don't think we actually got to it as part of the panel, but it's definitely something that I get asked a lot around, and I feel like, as you know, I've been a founder, you've been a multiple time founder. How do you cope with stress and pressure, and what advice do you have people out? Because we work in a very pressurized industry, right? So yeah, what are you doing to sort of cope with that, and what advice would you give to people that are battling the same problems?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, stress is a foundational element, especially in startups.
Mm-hmm.
And how you manage stress and cope with stress. There are healthy ways,
yeah,
and there are very unhealthy ways
yes.
of doing that. So I'll give you a very tangible example that many people face stress. We'll use the Silicon Valley Bank failure.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the most stressful weekends of my entire life.
Yeah.
Where I'm on the phone with my CFO trying to wire millions of dollars from SVB into another account to only miss the window, and then try and figure out over the weekend whether or not we'd be able to make payroll on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And making sure that our employees know everything will be fine, yet behind the scenes, you're making every phone call you could possibly make to ensure that the company will be foundationally operational come Monday morning, and that the employees aren't freaking out.
Yeah, great.
Right.
You did the graceful swan. I should imagine at the top, everybody, it's completely calm, everything's fine. Meanwhile, underneath, your legs are paddling fast, right?
That's kind of how that works.
Yeah.
Right. So, while externally you're putting on this, everything is okay, and it will be okay because you are going to work until it does become okay. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. Made phone calls. We were able to get the account set up, to have funds wired, irrespective of if SVB came back online or not, to ensure that the next day the show will go on and the company will survive, and every employee and customer will be taken care of.
Yeah. It's funny when you run your own business, I think a lot of the employees and people look to you and think, well, look at that person, CEO, doing very well for themselves, and they don't necessarily realize that, this sort of stuff goes on in the background, and they're the first ones to get paid, right? We're the last ones to get paid.
That's right.
Right? When times are good, we make some of that money back. You get paid out for that pressure. But for a lot of the time, there's constant challenges, and you're making sure that they're safe, and that's going on in the background, right? So it's nice to hear that, from another founder that, nobody wants to go through this stuff, but it is part of being a founder. And if you're ever thinking of founding your own company and having employees and doing that sort of stuff, that's what you've got to expect. And hopefully, if you're an employee out there, you don't often see this stuff going on in the background. And so, understand that every one of us, no matter what your paycheck says, has certain stresses and pressures that they have to deal with. Now, outside of just figuring that stuff out, like, how do you deal with like stress and pressure? What are the things that you do in a healthy way to deal with that?
Exactly. There are healthy ways and there are unhealthy ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, one, have a healthy outlet. So, one of the things that I try and do every morning is get a good workout in, right?
Yeah.
So being able to have healthy daily practices that are normal routines, I think is really important. Second, be able to have a group of people that you can confide with
Mm-hmm.
and in, that aren't necessarily tied specifically to the domain or area that you're working in. So having a kind of a strong foundation of I had a small group of men that I would go share life with that came from a variety of different disciplines. Some are entrepreneurs, some are not entrepreneurs, but you have this opportunity to share what's going on in your life, both personally and professionally, with a group of, in this case for me, guys that I could be able to be transparent and open and honest about what's happening and get solid feedback and advice. So to me, those are two methods of how you can healthily cope with it. Very unhealthy ways is bottling it up and having it come out in unhealthy ways.
Yeah.
Right. Which will come out to your employees. It'll come out to your customers. Definitely find healthy ways to get it out.
Yeah. I think having that circle of friends and trusted people that you can be yourself. I see. I it's funny because I am friends with some of our competitors, and I see their posts on LinkedIn, and I see everything's very positive, and everything looks amazing, and then I'll bump into them at a conference, and we'll have a beer together, and then you hear the other side of things, and I've been in the industry long enough to be pretty honest about how stuff is, right? When things are tough, they're tough, but you do need to have that group of people that you can trust in and be very open and vulnerable.
That's right.
As I think everybody needs to be better at being vulnerable, men especially.
That's right.
We're not very good at that, and I think that's probably why some of the outcomes, the horrible outcomes that we see from people, and how they have to end up escaping the pressure happens. I love what you said about the working out. I'm a structure person now, and I think one thing I learned quite early in the after the pandemic was not going into an office, not having a commute every day. Like still needed some sort of structure.
That's right.
And so building in, right, this time to this time, I work out, I do some exercise, try and stay healthy.
That's right.
And then I have these things I schedule. So I can't agree with you more about the importance of doing that. What do you think from people that are in the cybersecurity industry and they're under a lot of stress and pressure? Because a lot of these places are, they're understaffed, right? People are trying to do more with less people, and so they've got a lot more work to do. How should people deal with that? How do they prioritize these things when sometimes they're being given more work than it's possible to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of creativity. The breadth and depth of technology that is now available to us democratizes the ability to develop solutions to untenable workloads, right? AI is pervasive in many, many organizations, and the capabilities that AI brings can actually help these untenable workloads become tenable, right? So if you're open to exploring the capabilities and the possibilities that technology can bring to help you as an employee do your job better and more effective, where you're able to oversee the capabilities that AI brings, and yet you're able to develop this growing workload to deliver quality outcomes for your customer, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Right. That's really the way to address it, right? Because the workloads are only going to increase, right? It's how can you be a more effective employee and deliver continuous value to the customers that you and your company serve. And that's leveraging new technologies in new creative and innovative ways. So as long as you as an employee are open to exploring the art of the possible, there really isn't a ceiling to what you can accomplish.
Yeah, and that's the importance of embracing AI technology, right? That it's funny. I speak to employees, and they'll be like, "Oh, we've just placed John with them, right? We've just placed John with them a year ago. They've done amazing. What do you want? I want another John." Right, so that's often the job description we might get. I'll have another John, please, or another Sam, or another Karen, or whatever it might be, right? Whoever it might be, I want another one of those. And I think AI enables you to make that person more productive. You actually get that, right? You get And I think that, you know, if you accept it and bring it in, you may well be able to turn around and get rid of some of the stuff you don't enjoy doing, right? Some of that everyday grunt work that you spend time on when you could be spending on time work up here. AI can take that away if you embrace it.
That's right.
Right. So I think, you know, a lot of these conversations will end up, especially at the moment, seem to end up coming back to AI in some shape or form. But it is going to revolutionize what we're doing. And I think accepting that and going with the times and embracing it, as I've said before on here, is what will continue to make sure you've got a job in the future.
Exactly right.
So, yeah. So, well, thank you so much, Anil. Appreciate your time in this, our little chit chat.
Absolutely.
It's always good. We've got a nice long drive back from here, back to Seattle. Beautiful drive back as well.
Yes.
So we should probably go back and get into the mixer now.
Probably.
Go and spend some time networking. But thank you, everybody. Anil, thank you for joining me. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Like, subscribe. Let me know if there's some questions you want to ask some of the people that I'm bringing in, or even if you're out there and you say, Kris, I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. I would love that. So just reach out to me. So again, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you for listening to the Route to CISO Byte Size podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you keep an eye out for season 3 of the full Route to CISO podcast. And in the meantime, stay up to date by liking, commenting, and of course, subscribing to our channel. Thank you.